Dial H number 1, written by China Mayville, art by Mateus Santalucci. This is something different. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something different. So we open in Littleville, Colorado. A guy is walking up his stairs to his apartment building. He is heavily overweight and he's wheezing the whole way. His name is Nelson Gent, and he's with his friend Darren, who's basically telling him, like, hey, look, you just got out of the hospital for a heart attack. Maybe you should, like, try exercising a little bit and trying to get in shape. And he's like, it wasn't a heart attack. It was, like, more minor or whatever. He's like, no, it was a heart attack. And come on, man, I know you used to be into things. You used to, like, you used to box, you used to read, you used to, like, do things. But ever since you lost your job and then your girlfriend Julie, and he's like, look, I get it, I get the concern, but all I need right now is just to distract myself. And as such, he lights up 2 cigarettes at the same time in order to play it off as a joke. But Darren's not having any of it. He's like, look, even if you don't believe that you're killing yourself, you're killing me. So don't call me the next time. And he gets angry as Darren's leaving and shouts after him for, not being a good friend or whatever. But as Darren's making his way down the alley, he's jumped by a couple of guys. And apparently Darren works for a guy named XN. And these guys are here to collect on something that Darren did. So Nelson, he feels bad about yelling after his friend, runs down the stairs again and tries to talk to Darren before he gets too far away. But he sees him getting jumped and he tries to jump in. And he gets his ass handed to him by a couple of the thugs. So he falls backwards into a phone box. And he's like, I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to call for help. And he gets on the phone and he dials a number. And then a massive explosion happens, big blinding light. And Nelson, despite being the one in there, outsteps a long, slender, almost alien-looking creature named Boy Chimney, who's like dressed in 1800s garb. And he steps out and there's just this broken thought process to Boy Chimney. That's Nelson's thoughts trying to just coalesce, basically. Whereas Boy Chimney then goes around attacking each of the thugs and basically drowning them in smoke that he's able to control. And as he poisons all of them, basically, with carbon monoxide, he starts to fly off. But then he remembers, like, oh, wait a minute, Darren, got to go back and get my friend. And as he goes back down, he's like, wait a minute, those guys, they're dying because of this smoke. And Boy Chimney, seemingly, like, differently from, like, he needed convincing from Nelson's thought process, then disgruntledly removes all the smoke and lets them live before he flies off with Darren's body to get him to the hospital because has some pretty severe beatings. So he drops him off at the hospital. Doctors take him in, and then he goes jumping across rooftops away, and before he gets too far, he turns back into Nelson and just collapses. So he wakes up at sunrise, and he has no idea what in the hell just happened. We then cut to a mobster, the guy who was going after, at least one of the lieutenants of the guy who was going after Darren, and he's like, something jumped my guys, and it's like something that we have not seen before. It's a new player. Like, I'm going to need some extra protection, so send somebody to help. And don't worry, we're going to take care of Darren. So then we cut to the hospital. Nelson's talking to Darren, and Darren admits that he's in deep with this mobster guy, and he was supposed to be somewhere, but he didn't make it, so they send his goons after him. And basically, Darren just shoves him off, says, like, hey, look, don't worry about it. It's not your problem. Like, just don't deal. And then as Nelson is leaving, he runs into a neurologist who's here to ask about Darren's condition because apparently he reports seeing a crazy long slender figure that can fly with smoke. And Nelson tells him, like, yeah, no, he's not crazy, but just don't treat him too harshly despite the fact that he's in deep with the wrong people. So then Nelson heads back to the phone booth and he tries to remember the number that caused it. He realizes, like, a phone number isn't going to help. Maybe it's something with the letters. So he tries chimney, he tries help, he tries back, he tries safe. And then finally, in the end, he's just kind of talking to himself, and he's like, I have to know if this was what it was, and if so, and he tries typing in if so, which causes it. It causes him to transform again. But this time, he's not turned into Boy Chimney. He just feels this overwhelming misery and sadness. So cut back to the lieutenant who is working for XN, and his like goons are calling up to him, being like, "Boss, something's here," and oh god, my mom died. Oh god, and boss is like, "Dude, that was 5 years ago. What are you complaining about now?" And then we see that Nelson's transformed into a character named Captain Lachrymose, who causes intense misery in everybody he passes by. And he gets up to the boss, and boss has a gun trained on him, and he's like, "Remember your 7th birthday. You wanted a Viking helmet so bad. What did you get instead?" And the boss is like, "I got a cowboy hat." And he just breaks down crying. But then this old woman who's been in the corner the whole time stands up from her chair, and she opens up her eyes and her mouth, and they are pitch black. And there's just like this void suction being made from her. And his sadness powers don't work on her. It's like there's nothing at all inside of her. Like she's just a husk. So Captain Lachrymose just sweeps the legs, points over at the boss and says, like, "You leave Darren alone." And then he punches through a wall and leaves. The boss immediately gets on the phone and calls over to his boss, XN, being like, "Hey, something was here." And the boss is like, "Hey, I'm sending another address. You guys are gonna deal with the issue, and if this guy says stay away from Darren, then we're definitely gonna go after Darren." So it ends with Nelson. He's got a full trench coat and garb and stuff, and he's walking down the alley where the phone booth is, and he says, I'm gonna get a reputation if I just hang around this alley too much, but this, like, the number was 4376, and I don't know what's special about that number, but letters wise, I know one thing: it spells out hero. And we end with him going in and seemingly about to dial the number again, and that's where it leaves off. This was weird. Like, I don't know what to make of this, honestly. It was good, it was well written, and I liked the way the characters were progressing. It's very hard for me to get across just how frenetic, like, the pace of Boy Chimney was, and like the look of Captain Lachrymose was hilarious. There's a lot going for this, and I'm definitely interested in it. I'm not sure exactly what the plot line is yet. It seems like this mobster has bigger, higher connections to something deeper in terms of like someone who may be looking for this phone. I don't know, but I'm interested to see where it goes. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and give it I give it a 7.5. Art is also fantastic. They do a good job of making it stylized without being too crazy and over the top. So yeah, interested in seeing where it goes.